President of the Republic of Cameroon confirms the dismissal of Abdoulaye Babale and appoints Eric Esusi as Director General of the elections governing body in the country. In this edition of the news, we also talk about the government that says that terrorists were killed in Menka, Mezam division of the northwest region of the country, but the population is mourning the close to 30 youths that were killed few days ago in that part of the country. The General Certificate of Education kicks off across the national territory in a very under tight security in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. Those are headlines. We shall be right back with the details. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back from the weekend. You're watching the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. It is still a bitter pill to swallow to several persons in the Mezam division northwest region of Cameroon. The brutal killing of some individuals that was few days ago. Dozens of families are still mourning the death of their sons and daughters murdered by security forces in Menka, Mezam division of the northwest region. There are diverse versions as far as the Friday massacre, that is how it has so far been described, is concerned. Nijon Frundi, who visited Menka, condemned the incident. Babla Jonathan has the details. The report of Babla Jonathan that we obviously will be coming back to that in this edition of the news. But before that, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, we are having indications that the report of Babla Jonathan is ready. Dozens of families that are currently mourning the death of their sons and daughters murdered by security forces in Menka, Mezam division of the northwest region of Cameroon a few days ago. There are diverse versions as far as the Friday massacre is concerned. Nijon Frundi visited Menka and condemned the incident. Babla Jonathan tells us more.
At least 25 alleged Ambazonian fighters gunned down in Menka, Penin subdivision, Mezam division, northwest region of Cameroon. Odor emitted by decomposing dead bodies filled the atmosphere in Menka after the Friday, May 25th incident. Lifeless bodies of young men and women could be found lying on the ground in the village. The news of the incident, which spread like wildfire, caused panic and confusion in Penin and the northwest region in general, and the northwest region as a whole.
They settled here when it's a group of them. We don't know the actual number that they were here. But finally, a group of soldiers just came and got them down, neutralized everything. Shooting. The guy started shooting the house. The soldier reacted. Soldier collected the arms and went with them with knives, machete, all the like, gone.
And they've been here for how long?
We should say just about 5 days.
No, you said they came Wednesday.
A week.
They were moving all around the village.
They were moving all around the village.
Yes.
Then
not yet settled.
Yes,
not yet settled. Please don't contradict things. Not yet settled. They settled here.
While some of the villagers claimed they did not know of the existence of the gang, others say that the group, comprising of male and female members, went looting, kidnapping, and extorting money from people at gunpoint.
They were calling themselves Ambazonia soldiers. So, Ambazonia soldiers, they call themselves Ambazonia soldiers, that they have came here to protect us. We were with them. They work the whole village, give money. We support them with money. People give them money. If you don't give money, with the machete, they will set a knife with them. A girl was a gang leader even. Just show you a knife like this, whatsoever in the pocket, you give them, and you are free. Even catching pigs.
Some villagers told us that the suspected Ambazonian fighters abducted some youths and forced them to join the group, while others willingly joined the group.
They escaped. The three of them escaped. 2 boys and 1 girl. They disappear.
the leaders.
They disappear.
The leaders disappear.
All those children neutralized here, they are just children around by the air. So even promise that they will join the Ambazonia soldiers. They came. Their children.
And the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Fundi, on a fact-finding mission to Benin, found out that some innocent persons were caught in the fire.
Where so many people have been killed, so many people are in the bushes, so many people are on the run. If I spend the day this way, going around to see those that have been killed and to comfort members of the families, I think that comfort members of those innocent children that were caught in the crossfire, because some of the girls that were killed there were innocent girls that were abducted. They were not in the criminal gang.
In total, at least 25 people were killed, 8 from Bali, 5 from Lower Benin, 1 from Jong, 5 from Buchi, and 1 from Mendankwe.
And on the weekend massacre in the northwest region of Cameroon, we shall be talking more on that in the second part of this newscast. The moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon has called on the government of the country to seek immediate solutions to the current socio-political unrest in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Right Reverend Funky Samuel Foba made a declaration in Kompina, that is here in the littoral region of Cameroon, during an outing. The moderator promised to give his services if the government needed his help at any time. Details with Sumanjikan Gabriel.
He was the August guest at Presbyterian Church, Kompina, this Sunday. Right Reverend Funky Samuel Foba, PCC moderator, was to officiate at the foundation stone of the church. In the course of the divine service, the moderator didn't miss out on the current political instability in the two Anglophone regions. The moderator was very clear.
We do not accept the killings going on both sides. We do not accept the killings of the military of this country. We do not accept the killings of the civilians in this country. We do not accept the burning down of places in this country. And the church stands for a united Cameroon, and we pray that the government of this country should hasten up and say something to put a stop to what is going on.
The man of God says the killings are enormous.
We are not satisfied that human life that is sacred, human life that is in the image of God, could be mutilated and shamefully brutalized the way we see on the social media.
Right Reverend Funky Samuel Foba confirmed his availability and that of other Protestant churches alongside the Catholic to serve as mediator in the crisis if invited.
The Baptists, the Presbyterians, and even all religions, including the Muslims, have the capacity to mediate in the present problems affecting Cameroon. Not only the problem in the Anglophone region, the problems in the northern part of our country by Boko Haram, and the problem in the east of our country caused by the refugees that coming from Central Africa. The churches are capable of doing that, but the churches cannot force themselves into mediating in these issues if the government of Cameroon will not call on board the churches to do so.
As the crisis continues to deteriorate, Right Reverend Funky Samuel has this advice to the government.
Remain in prayers and calling on the government of Cameroon to do whatever it takes to stop the crisis in this nation, in order that Cameroon will remain that peaceful nation. Cameroon will remain Africa in miniature. Cameroon will remain the haven of hope and peace to a fallen country like ours.
To Protestant Christians, he tells them,
my message to all Protestants is that we should remain a church together, marching on together as Protestants for the common good of the entire nation. And to the Protestants of the Anglophone extraction, I can only tell them that God is still on his throne, wherever they are in the bushes and wherever they are in their miseries and pain. Let them continue to hope in the Lord. Let them remain on their knees, because God's time is the best.
It was one of the rare outing of the PCC moderator who was recently appointed as the president of the All Protestant Churches, SEPCA, on the Anglophone crisis that has caused this far enormous damages to families in the two speaking English regions.
And day one of the General Certificate of Education examination began in the two Anglophone regions of the country under tight security in Kumbo Boy division of the Northwest region. The turnout was timid, as we see in the following report. For the second time since the start of the Anglophone crisis, students of the English subsystem of education are sitting in for the GCE examination, and it is yet another uneasy calm reigning in the examination halls. At the entrance, on the campus and in the surroundings of one of the accommodation centers in Kumbo at the St. Augustine's College hosting GCE ordinary and A-level candidates were heavily armed men in uniform. This mission school is hosting over 5 examination centers in Kumbo. It was a similar scenario at GBHS Kumbo. The level of security observed in the examination halls in the Northwest and Southwest Monday explains the unstable state of affairs in both regions. In the halls, some of the benches are empty, others occupied, but the overall turnout this year was timid. School authorities denied all requests for comments and advanced security reasons. And here in the economic capital, Douala, the first subject was within reach to some of the students, but difficult to others, innocent as they taught some examination centers here in the city, and tells us more in this report.
Monday, May 28 was day one of the 2017-2018 session of the General Certificate of Education examination across Cameroon. In centers here in Douala Littoral region, some students like this one were threatened by fear.
My name is Kiambang Quinivan Changfon. It's true that I had tension in me when I came in the morning because actually it's my first time to write. So when I came, I had a little bit of fear, but I remember they told us when we want to write, we shouldn't have fear in us. So as the exam was going on, that fear left me as I was answering the question, since as it was just normal.
Early papers of the GCE ordinary and advanced levels were complicated to some candidates.
My name is Elie Michel. We are just from writing the paper one, and it was a little bit complicated, but we had to do it because we had faith, and we thank God for the paper one. It was a little bit easy for me because I wrote it well.
Anybody who prepared for the exam will find it easy, but those who didn't prepare found it difficult. So for me, it was just normal.
To others, there was nothing to worry about.
My name is Ngobilon Jeanette Leonie. I'm presenting this year advanced level. I had paper one. Paper one was very good, nice.
An outcome of thorough revision amid all odds that enabled recognition and provision of answers to the GCE questions.
I'm preparing to revise some small things that I could not cover up. The current went, but when I reached those questions, I could reason it out.
Some of the centers accommodated students from the troubled Northwest and Southwest regions who fled the Anglophone crisis that has disrupted education.
Since I came here, at least change of environment. I have new friends and I'm used to now with the environment, so I have no difficulties. I'm a little bit relaxed.
According to a chief of center, Gimdo Gilbert, the candidates are treated equally. He also indicated that the number of candidates writing in his center has doubled as compared to last year due to the socio-political impasse.
Last year we had a little above 1,000 candidates in this center, which means that there is an increment of close to 700 candidates. It's coming from the English-speaking regions, from the statistics we have.
To him still, the GCE unfolded void of any hitch, but for the fact that 2 ordinary level candidates were absent on day 1 and 3 for advanced levels.
We had 448 candidates that were to sit in for economics ordinary level general. This morning we registered 2 absences, so effectively 446 sat in for the exams. At the advanced level we had 203 candidates who were to sit in for economics paper 1 advanced level general. We registered 3 absences, so effectively 200 candidates wrote the exams, and I think that it's a very happy note.
Chiefs of centers and other examiners pray the GCE ends well, with candidates reaping colorful results that will catapult them to the next level of their education.
And a visually impaired student of the University of Buea Southwest region has urged the GC board to introduce reforms in favor of students with special needs. Dr. Nyungap Charlie, who defended his PhD thesis this weekend in Buea, urged the board to copy the Nigerian example. Details with Derek Jato.
8 a.m. Friday the 25th of May 2018. Fire at the half-mile vicinity in Limbe. Traffic block as a population watch helplessly without any firefighting brigade to combat the fire disaster. 9 rooms plank house, locally called Calabot House, hosting about 6 families ravished by the fire, with the belongings of the occupant consumed to ashes.
The first ever visually impaired student from the University of Buea has defended his PhD thesis. Happening for the first time since the creation of this first Anglo-Saxon higher learning institution in 1993. But its Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of research, Professor Martha Tunde, says the University of Buea has always been working toward this goal.
So I won't say it is only now. They have been working hard towards this for a long time. Especially the UNESCO chair have been working closely with her on this special program.
Now a doctor of philosophy in special need education, coming from the Faculty of Education, Department of Educational Psychology, Dr. Charlie Nyungap centered his research on comparative analysis of inclusive assessment procedures of Cameroon General Certificate of Education Board and Nigeria's National Examination Council, and this has been his findings.
I found out that NECO was significantly more inclusive than the GCE board in the first 6 procedures. That is, setting of examination questions, validating examination questions, registration, producing question papers and answer booklets, administering examinations, scoring examination scripts and publishing, scoring examination scripts. And the GCE board was significantly more inclusive only in the area of publishing examination results.
To Professor Agbo Bechem, Dean of the Faculty of Education, the University of Buea, is on the rail.
And having taken experience from Nigeria, where they have done a lot in inclusive education, I think Cameroon is quite on a good footing. We will have students and the Faculty of Education that is taking the lead in doing inclusive education in Cameroon.
And Elections Cameroon has a new Director General. Eric Esuse has been appointed to replace Abdoulaye Babali, who was sidelined by members of the Board of Directors for gross misconduct. That was last week. Eric Esuse, who is expert in election issues, would be assisted by Abdul Karimu. They were appointed this afternoon by the President of the Republic of the country. Now we come back to these ravaging flames in Limbe that pushed dozens out of their houses. They have been homeless for 2 days now since the incident occurred in that part of the southwest region of Cameroon. The cause of the fire disaster up to now remains unknown. Details with Davis Maimo.
a.m. Friday the 25th of May 2018. Fire at the half-mile vicinity in Limbe. Traffic block as a population watch helplessly without any firefighting brigade to combat the fire disaster. 9 rooms plank house, locally called Calabot House, hosting about 6 families ravished by the fire, with the belongings of the occupant consumed to ashes.
I'm not going to want to go for a fire degree. You want to go for a fire degree. I'll fight only my gas bottle. I'll that. Oh, I'm picking that means the whole house, all we rent. No man, no something.
The firefighting brigade of the National Oil Refinery Sonora had to turn back after information that the fire has been brought to control. These sources say for fear of being attacked for arriving late due to its bureaucracy nature for it to leave the refinery.
First Sonora disposes his own firefighting brigade. It's always too late. So each time we have fire here in Limbe, we always encounter total losses.
The fire disaster continues to reiterate the question of an opaque city without a firefighting brigade.
The fact that there is no fire brigade is a shameful thing to Fako division entirely, because a head of Fako division has no fire brigade service, meaning that many houses will soon burn down without fire service. Because even the council office, there's nothing. So it can affect the government. Today is a poor, tomorrow it can be the government institute. So we don't know. So we are begging the Biao that if they should apply for Yaoundé, they should send them one. They should have a fire brigade. It would be nice.
And in news out of Cameroon, a Malian migrant hailed as a hero after mounting a daring rescue to save a small boy dangling from a balcony that was in Paris, France. Mamoudou Gassama won widespread praise after climbing from balcony to balcony outside of the building to save a 4-year-old child. After meeting with the French President Emmanuel Macron at the Elysee Palace, President Macron said that he would be met a neutralized citizen and be given a role in the fire service in the country. He thanked Mr. Gassama and gave him a medal for courage. Amongst those to praise the 22-year-old's heroism was the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo. She referred to him as a Spider-Man of the 18th and called him an example for all citizens. Mr. Gassama, the acclaimed Spider-Man, is said to have arrived France last Euro via a boat taking a long and dangerous journey to Europe over the Mediterranean Sea via Italy. And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Time for us to meet our guest. We shall be right back. Tonight we have a journalist specialized in international issues as our guest, Mr. Elie Smith. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
It's a pleasure for having me here once again.
We have followed the report on the massacre in Menka of the northwest region of Cameroon. We saw the diverse opinions, that of the Social Democratic Front chairman, local authorities and elites in the village. Others are indicating that by the time of the attack or the gunshots by security forces, those that have been termed secessionists had left the area. What have you been able to gather so far as a journalist?
Well, those individuals could be described as people who have usurped identities or titles of the so-called secessionists. You know, the name Ambazonian fighters have become a kind of generic terms. You don't know which of the branches. What I heard about 2 or 3 days before the incident became what it has become was that there were some individuals who came into that locality and were raping, taking people hostages, and I think the icing on the cake was when they drove someone from his hotel. So I think we have to be circumspect. We don't have to run amok into trying to tag them as secessionists or armed secessionists. You have to understand that this crisis had made many people to kind of masquerade into what they are not. So, but it is bad and sad what has happened there.
Now, looking at the action of security forces, was it professional for them to neutralize the bandits or rebels or arrest them? Was it not just better, as some critics would say, to arrest them?
Well, in a civilized country where you have civilized and respectful law security forces, when you talk about neutralize, it doesn't necessarily mean to kill or execute, as we have seen. They had the capacity to arrest them, and after the arrest, interrogate them to know their true identities and know whether they belong to the armed wings of the secessionists or not. So that is the reason why I had earlier said it is premature. We have to circumspect to run amok and then tag them already as armed secessionists. As I may be repeating myself, a normal security forces would have arrested them.
And another curiosity is the reaction of the locals, the mothers, the people of the village, how they were actually crying. If the action of security forces was supposed to be praised, as some local elites would want us to understand, they would have been happy that rebels were finally gotten rid of. But that's not the situation we could see. We saw how many people were crying.
And thank you very much for having noticed that. You know, well, this time around, everybody wants to have a kind of trophy, wants to say something, and wants to label somebody, give a bad name to a movement which arose because of poor crisis management. If those, one, it is true that they were carrying out nefarious actions. That is true. But I also think that when the security forces came, the reaction of the security forces was disproportionate. Hence, the locals are not happy, because I didn't see, neither did you see, those killed or executed with weapons, which means that the security forces had
The
outnumbered
Defense Ministry
them.
says that the weapons were seized from them.
Now,
a good number of weapons were seized.
did they display it? I doubt. Our security forces are in a kind of show and tell. If they had the weaponry as they claimed, they would have displayed it. If they haven't displayed it, it means that those so-called armed bandits were outmanned and outgunned, which means that they had the capacity to neutralize them, not by killing them as they have done. They would have arrested them and interrogated them. And what they have done doesn't give a good image to an already tarnished image of the Cameroon security forces. So I think they made a mistake. They are human, and to err is human. I think they have to retool and see how to do or carry out their operations in that part of the country.
And very important that the matter should really be investigated thoroughly to know who is who, like you, Ella, indicated. The crisis is escalating. It started close to 2 years ago, and nothing is changing on the ground. You've been one of those journalists that has visited the Northwest and the Southwest to see the situation for yourself. Recently, some of the Anglophone activists were slammed jail sentences in Yaoundé by the military court. Many are curious to know how it's going to be affecting the Anglophone crisis, that many are now proposing solutions or dialogue as a solution.
Yes, we have always said it time and over again from the beginning of the crisis that the government committed a monumental error by trying to use violent means or arresting the genuine leaders of this movement. That is, you have Dr. Fontem and Agwabala. And by taking them out of the way of dialogue, they had to open a boulevard for extremists to take over, and they have taken over. Now, sentencing popular figures such as Conrad C. or Mancho BBC show that the government is in no way open for a kind of appeasement. So we think that if the government wanted to appease people, appease the Anglophones who have been unjustly arrested massively, it would have been an opportunity to either release them or give them very minor jail terms. So jailing them for 15 years is an indication that the government is not disposed, contrary to what they claim, that they want to appease the situation. If you want to appease the situation, if you want to negotiate, you would have made ways, create an enabling environment. And this is not a matter of victor or vanquish. What is at stake is the future of this country as it is right now. If it is poorly managed or negotiated, I'm afraid that we might not be the same again.
And we are having more pressure from the international community after the outing of the much talked about outing of the US ambassador to Cameroon. We have UK MPs that have actually signed a letter calling on the Prime Minister to pressure the head of state to engage in meaningful dialogue, talking about targeted killings as well in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. What could be the impact of this in the coming days?
The impact is that, contrary to what people who are supporting the regime might be boasting and running their mouth around, is that when you have the international community mounting pressure and a loyal friend of Cameroon, such as the United States, voicing what their ambassador has said, it speaks volume. And then I think things are going to change. And I don't want to come into conclusion that the government is kind of blind. They are ignorant and arrogant. But when a loyal friend like the United States, and even somebody like the United Kingdom, who in most cases have either been mute on the case are now mounting the pressure. I think the government is going to do something. They have to do something, come what may.
And one of those that reacted is George Soros, an American billionaire that has actually called the Anglophone crisis a vicious conflict that is pushing many Anglophone Cameroonians to flee to neighboring Nigeria. Don't you think that maybe with time or in few weeks or even months from now, the government could start engaging the meaningful dialogue that many are talking about?
Sure, everybody has been telling this government that you will never win a war against a people who do not like you. They don't like you because they just hate you. No, because you have hated them through the action that you have taken. You can't win a war against a people. They can't win this war. And even if they were to bring the best soldiers in the world, like the Navy Seabees of the United States or the Israeli army or whatever, they will not win. So I think the government will, at the end, try to open a sincere dialogue. And on the other hand, those with whom they have designated as their adversaries, I think they will also be open for negotiations. And people should understand that negotiation means that everything should be on the table, and that at the end there will be concessions, there will be winners and losers in code. But what is important is that is the future of this country that I'm afraid if care is not taken, this is something I've been seeing a lot, and I've been saying that most often the causes of problems in most African countries is simply because we don't know how to manage crises. We are not open to concessions.
What is the best way to manage this crisis? Apart from releasing those that have been arrested, like it's been like a sing-song calling on the government, release all those that have been arrested, demilitarize the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. What could be the best way of handling this crisis?
Well, that's a tall order simplification. May I try? First of all, if I were the government, I think at the University of Boya, they have something on crisis management. They could have gone there and asked them to do it. But I would want to say this. The government knows how many houses they have burned. The government knows how many people they have killed. One thing could be first, try to make a compensation, try to secure the environment. If you can compensate the people of Bello, anyway, everybody in the West Cameroon that have been massacred or houses burned, I think people like it. And the second thing is open the gates of the prisons of Yaoundé, Bamenda, and Boya, and everybody should be free. I think then we have leaders around that you can speak to them, and that is going to contribute in this thing. But if you continue on one hand arresting people, extorting them, you've seen that there is one thing that people say in Douala and Yaoundé, but when you go down to West Cameroon, you see that the government is gradually but effectively losing grounds.
Now, before we go, would want to get your reaction on this saga on the monument of Ruben Omyobe, a nationalist and a national hero in the country that was vandalized by some chiefs of the Bell Canton. It took place at the weekend in Cameroon. It has triggered nationwide and international reactions, many questioning why could chiefs carry out such an initiative. What is your reaction, Mr. Elie Smith?
My reaction first is that is in defense of the people of Bell, the Belle people of Canton Bell. One, they are not against the fact that the government wanted to erect a monument in honor of a proud Cameroonian nationalist in the name of Ruben Omyobe. The thing is, were they consulted? I doubt. You don't come and impose a monument on a people under the guise that think he was a national hero. The people of Canton Bell have always asked, and this has been a long demand, for a monument in honor of Mangabel, Ngosodin, and a number of heroes who are like the cradle of Cameroonian nationalism, and it hasn't been done. This one has been done under the pressure of one man called, I think, Esama, somebody like that. And then the desecration of that monument, there is a precedent. When he had Bonakwamwang, there was the monument of John Gufoncha that was erected by the same Esama. It was destroyed by the National Police Force. Am I wrong? So there's a precedent about that. And the other thing is that we have a government that has never done an effort to honor our respective national heroes. So I think why we want
But a national hero is being rejected by chiefs.
No, they haven't rejected it.
Rejected by chiefs is a national hero. Should there be conditions or place or a particular place where a monument of a national hero should be erected?
Of course, yes. If you go to Harare, that's what they call the Hero Square. And if you go to Brazzaville, they have a number of monuments erected around the country, in the capital. And there's a controversial monument, that of Savagnon de Brazza, that the natives are saying, why didn't you erect one in honor of Makoko, the person who made Savagnon de Brazza? And it's the same thing here. If you want to erect a monument in honor of Reuben Umnyobe, with due respect for whom he was or he is, he's a hero, but you need to consult with the people of the locality.
But it was not a hidden news. Everybody was aware of it because it was written in the press. They saw the monument being mounted. But at the end of the day, they came for the destruction. That is why many are curious, because others are saying that it's some sort of tribalism that
it's
we
not
are condemning on a daily basis in the country.
No, the people of Douala, the people of the coast are not tribal people. They are very open. Anybody who says that they are tribal are either mischievous or dishonest. I think that it is just a reaction when you don't consult people. It's just like in West Cameroon, when you decided one day to throw into the bin a constitution that was signed. Do you expect me to accept what is going on? No, I think that with due respect of what is going on, the people of Canton Bell were, no, I think they should consult them. And I think a communique came out from the palace there saying that they are not against Umnyobe. We in this country must know that before Umnyobe came, we respect him a lot. There was Rudolph Mangabel, there was Ngosodin, and I said there was a precedent here. Why didn't it rise the same wave that it's rising today? This government has never honored any national hero for simply because of one reason. They don't have the they don't have the moral high grounds of where they are today. So I don't want to say the people of Canton Bell are not tribal, but we have to understand that we have to conciliate their demands with us in order to have to strike a balance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elie Smith, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
It's a pleasure, madam.
We hope to have you some other time again.
God willing.
Thank you. To our viewers, it was equally a pleasure having with us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.